Happy New Year. It's so good to be back together. You guys have a good Christmas and New Year's? How many of you guys are hoping that this year will be better than last year? About half of us. The other half just wanted to go down or what? Maybe last year was great and you're hoping that, man, things just keep heading in that direction, that trajectory. Maybe last year was really tough and you're just ready to, there's some things that you're ready to leave behind you. Thank God that by His grace, He's brought us through 2025 and you're looking forward to hopefully some new things this coming year. I'm looking forward to this next year, and as I've been praying for this next year, this word just is, for the past month and a half or so, has just been continuing to surface in my heart and been on my lips as I've been praying for this year and for our church family, and it's the word refreshing. Refreshing. Anybody else notice that for weeks, almost every day we've had rain? Hard to not notice. I don't ever remember getting this much consecutive rain living in Southern California ever. When I lived in Eugene, just telling Michelle before service that 9 months out of the year in Eugene, Oregon, it rains at least a little bit every single day for 9 months. But not in Southern California. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know that I've ever seen Santa Clarita so green. I got some these patches in my lawn in the backyard that will not grow grass for whatever reason. It's just hard packed dirt. But now there's grass growing back there. And I'm like, all right, this is awesome. You're driving around and hillsides that used to be brown are green. I don't know how long it'll last, but we're taking it, right? This rain is bringing refreshing to the land. How many of you personally could use some refreshing from the Lord? Life has a way of wearing us down, doesn't it? It wears us down. We get tired. Anybody else notice that maybe your passion has faded over time? If we're not continually kindling that fire, our passion can fade. We can start to feel dry and thirsty. We get exhausted, not just physically, right? Sometimes you take a nap. You ever take a nap and you wake up and you're still tired? Okay, sometimes we need more than just physical rest. David wrote in Psalm 23, the famous psalm about the Lord being our shepherd, and he says, He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes what? He refreshes my soul, not just my body. This year, I believe that God wants to bring refreshing to us in the deepest places. Somebody say amen. I'm down for that. I'm believing that for you on a personal, individual level. I'm believing that for our church family, and that it would overflow into our community. What's the name of our church? Desert Streams. Have you ever thought about what that means? I believe that as we come together this year and as we pursue hard after God, we seek Him, He is going to refresh us, and I believe that life is going to overflow, and we're going to be like streams that are carrying the refreshing and the joy and the peace and the love of God and the gospel message into our community. But how do we get refreshed? Something that's important to know is that when God gives you a dream or a prophetic word, or He's putting something on your heart, almost always, I should say very rarely, is it ever going to be automatic. When God gives a prophetic word, it's often an invitation to partnership. God's always the one that does the heavy lifting, right? We take His yoke upon us and suddenly things feel light because He's doing all the heavy lifting all the time. But there's a role, there's an invitation that you and I get to play in experiencing the fulfillment of the things that God desires for us. You tracking with me? So how do we experience refreshing? What can we do? I want to just talk for a few minutes this morning about what could possibly be the best way for us to position ourselves to receive the refreshing from God. I just want you to picture a waterfall coming down, a big waterfall thundering as it hits the rocks down below. And all of this water, I want you to picture that that's what God's love is like for you. His love for you is continually flowing. His delight in you, the things that He has for you, it's continually coming towards you. But there is a way for us to step out from underneath the waterfall and step right underneath it. to receive all of it. Does that make sense? And one of the best ways for us to position ourselves underneath the waterfall to receive the refreshing and all God has for us is through prayer and fasting. I didn't hear any amens. As a church, we've decided to start every year with 28 days of prayer and fasting. First of all, what is fasting? Okay, biblically, when you read the Bible, fasting is not a dieting method. This isn't about losing the pounds that we put on during the holidays. Okay, that should not be our motive. It's not about making yourself miserable for God's pleasure. God does not get pleasure over your discomfort. Fasting is not earning something from God. We are not, by fasting, twisting God's arm to try to get him to do something that he otherwise does not want to do. Fasting is also, it's not a way for you to look spiritual to those around you. Biblically, fasting is the practice of not eating food for a set period of time to show devotion to God, to seek his guidance, and sometimes to contend for a breakthrough. In the Bible, fasting is always connected with food. So if it's not giving up food, biblically speaking, technically it's not a fast. However, in 1 Corinthians 7, we read that you can lay down anything. The example in Corinthians is actually married couples laying down and choosing not to engage in physical intimacy for a set period of time in order to show their devotion to God and to seek him. You can lay down anything or anything that would be a distraction for a set period of time in order to give yourself fully to God and to worship him. Now, you might be thinking, why would I ever want to do that? Like, why would I give up food? Anybody else? Like, I love food. Why would you willingly lay down things that you enjoy? Great questions. Let's take a minute to consider why. Why should we fast? A few years ago, in 2017, actually, Katie and I, we were praying together as we were getting ready for our 28 days of prayer and fasting. And when we were praying, Katie said something that just really stuck with me. And she said, God, I love this time of stripping away all the stuff and settling into Jesus. Stripping away all the stuff and settling into Jesus. That's what we're doing. There's so many distractions that pull us out from underneath the waterfall, and we're running after all kinds of stuff that we're not getting refreshed. It's stripping away the stuff and just settling in to receive from Jesus. Everyone gets to make their own plan for how they get to participate, but one of the things that we encourage everybody to do is to take the last 70 hours to fast all food and drinks except for water together. The past several years, we will break the fast by going to Toppers together. We'll go grab pizza after our Sunday celebration service. It's a glorious thing. I always eat way too much. I feel like sick that Sunday afternoon because I'm just so excited to eat, and I'm eating way more than I should. But during those last 70 hours, and when you're fasting, your stomach starts whining at you. I usually start dreaming of two things: pizza and my wife's chocolate chip cookies. You would think that it would feel so exciting to break the fast. But for me, it's actually bittersweet. Obviously, it's sweet because I'm going to get to eat some pizza, I'm going to eat some cookies, I'm going to get down on all this stuff. But there's also something sad to me about it because when I'm fasting, it's hard for me to explain, but there's just a sweetness to my relationship with God. One of the ways that I've explained it before is like, kids, you probably aren't going to, students won't maybe grasp this reference, but anybody remember those old radios with the dial that you spin? And the little needle goes back and forth along the numbers, right? And so when you're spinning it, right, there's a static right outside the channel. And you can hear it coming through, but there's like this extra noise that's messing it up, right? But then if you find that sweet spot right in the middle, all the static goes away and you can hear everything clearly. To me, that's what fasting is like. When I fast and when I pray, it's like the static gets removed and suddenly I'm hearing more clearly. I feel more settled. the chaos inside from all the noise just begins to settle, and this peace comes. And so when we break the fast, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to eat. And then the other part of me is like, once I break the fast, all of those feelings and the clarity, it doesn't completely disappear, but it is different. It's kind of like the difference between normal life and when Katie and I get to go like on an overnight together somewhere. So on the daily, Katie and I, we interact, we talk together, we're engaging in conversation and whatever. But sometimes we get rid of distractions, our kids, and we get alone with each other for a few days. And I can tell you, like, normal life with my wife is great, but there is a connection that gets breathed into our relationship when we get an extended period of time where we fast our kids, our jobs, our other relationships, and get alone. When you choose to fast, there is going to be a connection and life that gets breathed into your relationship with God. Refreshing will come. If you brought your Bible, you can open with me to Matthew 6. Matthew 6, it's the spot Jesus teaches on fasting. I'll give you a minute to turn there. I just want to say this, that sometimes we view fasting as self-punishment. Like, I'm going to turn off the things that entertain me so I can be super bored. I'm going to stop eating so I can starve and be miserable. I'm going to try to make myself uncomfortable and miserable because I guess somehow that's pleasing to God. Okay, that is a completely whack perspective. Fasting is about laying down one pleasure for a better one. It's a trade. Have you ever traded money for something that you really wanted? Everyone in the room, right? We've all traded money for something that we really wanted. One of my hobbies is coffee. Okay? Katie and I love coffee. I love making it at home. I'm into all the different espresso drinks and gotten into all the things, adjusting the grind for the perfect extraction time and messing with temperature and like pre-infusion and all this stuff, trying to make latte art, which is way harder than I ever thought it would be. But I've come to really appreciate a good cup of coffee. And in my pursuit of better coffee, I've had my eye on an espresso machine, a new one. And I won't geek out on you with all the features and stuff, but I'll just tell you, like, it's amazing. Katie and I have been talking about this thing. We wanted it for a long time. And so we started saving money. We saved money for about the past 6 months or so for this new espresso machine. Again, have you ever saved up for a long time to buy something that you really wanted? Maybe it was a car, maybe it was a vacation, maybe it was a video game, maybe it was the new phone, whatever. Saved for a long time. After Christmas, we finally had enough saved, and I found one. The guy is selling one on Marketplace, the one that we wanted down in Studio City, and it was raining bad. This was like this last week. I didn't care. I'm like, let's get in the truck. Noah, come on, let's go. My son jumped in the truck with me, and we drive down there. The guy is showing us, and I'm like, I'm geeking out over this thing. It's awesome. And I'm telling you, I opened up the Venmo app in my phone, and it was kind of painful to type in the dollar amount. But when I clicked to send the payment, I got to tell you, I didn't care. I was excited because I'm carrying home with me this new espresso machine. This is what fasting is like. Is there a cost? Absolutely. But what you get is more than worth it. How many of you would like to have an encounter with God? I'm talking like a real experience with God. How many of you would like to experience times of refreshing in His presence? You reap what you sow. You cannot sow in fasting and prayer and plant those seeds and not reap the harvest and the rewards from God. When I'm fasting and there's moments where it gets hard, my stomach starts growling, I drive by In-N-Out and it always smells so good. I pray in those moments, God, I want you more than I want food. Whatever it is that I'm fasting. If the temptation comes to like, man, I really wanted to watch, the playoffs are on. Like, I really wanted to watch football. God, I would rather hear your voice than hear whatever I'm going to hear and watch whatever I'm going to watch on the screen. God, I'm more hungry for you than I am for whatever that thing is that I'm choosing to lay down. The Pharisees, they were the religious leaders in Jesus' day. They fasted regularly. Did you know that? They fast probably more than most of us in the room. They're fasting 2 days a week. And they're sacrificing meals all the time. But if you know about the Pharisees, you know they did it for the wrong reasons. It wasn't because they were longing for God and they wanted to experience Him. It was because they wanted to look spiritual. God forbid that we ever want to have the appearance of being godly without actually being godly. This is a trap that we can fall into. Well, okay, 28 days, like everybody else around me is going to be doing it at church. Like, I don't want to look bad. And so, we go along, but it's really just to appear godly before other people. I don't want to have to tell my small group, like, I'm not really feeling it this year. I guess I'll do it. And Jesus calls them out for having this kind of mentality, this motive. And if you're there with me in Matthew 6, he said in verse 16, Matthew 6, verse 16, when you fast. Somebody say when you fast. Notice he didn't say if, right? Jesus assumes that his followers will fast. And he says, when you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do. That word hypocrite in the original Greek is the word for play actor, somebody who is pretending to be somebody that they're not in theater. Don't look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others that they're fasting. Truly, I tell you, they've received their reward in full. But when you fast, here's what you're supposed to do. Put oil on your head and wash your face so that it won't be obvious to others that you're fasting, but only to your Father who's unseen. And your Father who sees what's done in secret will reward you. You ever known somebody who tries to look uncomfortable or like sad to get your attention? Don't elbow anybody. The Pharisees, they would walk around trying to look like they have a problem, like, just so that somebody notices, and then they would say, like, oh, are you okay? What's going on? Just so they could say, oh, it's okay, I'm fasting, right? They just wanted to look spiritual. And Jesus says, don't announce to everybody that you're fasting. Like, it's okay. We're going to talk about having accountability when we fast, and that it's good to have a plan and to share it with somebody and hold each other accountable. Not so that they notice, right? It's okay for other people to notice, I believe, but what's important is that our motive, ultimately, the reason why I'm doing this is because I just want God to see. I want to fast for Him and for His eyes alone. And so, I just want to encourage you, as you think about these next 28 days, don't make any kind of plan to be noticed. Don't do it so your small group will be impressed. It's not worth it. Youth, don't do it because your parents or youth pastor will be impressed. Don't do it because some person told you to. Fast because you want to experience more of God. You will experience more of Him if you do. Jesus says that when we fast His way, not to be seen by others, but for God to see, He will reward us. And so, somebody say this with me. The path of fasting leads to the destination of rewards from God. Okay, one more time. Think about what we're saying here. The path of fasting leads to the destination of rewards from God. Okay, you want to know what's not in the Bible? If it feels good, do it. You never see God in the Bible ask anyone, hey, what do you feel like doing? God doesn't ask that question. What He does do is He shows us paths and their destination, and then He invites us to choose. There's a broad path that a whole lot of people take, but it will lead to death. There's a narrow path, only a few find it, but it leads to life. 2 paths, 2 destinations, you choose. He does this all throughout. I won't go into more, but the real question is that we should be asking isn't which path do I feel like taking, it's where do I want to end up? Of course you don't feel like fasting. None of us, if we're going to do this, based off whether you feel like it or not, then none of us are going to do it. The real question is, where do I want to end up? Do you want to end up at the destination of receiving refreshing from the Lord, hearing His voice, experiencing Him filling you with boldness to preach the gospel, experiencing more of His power and His presence in your life. Wisdom is not about choosing the most appealing path. It's about choosing the most appealing destination. Be willing to sacrifice temporary comforts to have what you want most. And we do this all the time for other areas, don't we? Like, why do you go to work? Not because it's fun. Maybe you got a great job. You go to work because you want the paycheck, right? You're sacrificing time and energy every week. You're putting up with junk from coworkers and your boss. You're doing tasks that you hate because you want the paycheck. It's why you choose to go to the gym. Come on, that's not an easy path. Investing money in a gym membership, protein powder expensive these days, even at Costco. You're pushing through the pain and in these workouts, your muscles are screaming at you, you're getting all sweaty and gross. Why? Because you want the body. You want the health. You go to school and you're doing homework late into the night and you're studying for these tests and you're sitting in these classes that you can't stand. Why? Because you want the good grades and you want where that's going to lead you. We do all kinds of hard things and we sacrifice for money. We do it for our physical health. We do it for our education. How much more should we be willing to do it for God? When it comes to fast, like if we talk about giving up other things like TV, social media, whatever, like that's a little bit of a sacrifice for me personally, but not really. Food, on the other hand, I love food. I love to eat. And fasting food is a very hard thing for me. But when it comes to fasting, I've decided that I want the destination bad enough. Encountering God, knowing Him, like really knowing Him, experiencing His presence and His voice, I would rather have that than have food for a period of time. Experiencing breakthrough in our city, seeing God move in power when we gather together. How many of you know that God's presence satisfies more than your favorite meal? Jesus satisfies more than your favorite dessert. Scrolling on social media and listening to other people. None of that compares to hearing one word from the mouth of God as you're in His word. So these 28 days, they're about choosing the path of fasting because we want the destination of rewards from God. Amen? Going long, I'm sorry. Can I have one more minute? The early Christians, they had the practice of fasting 2 days a week. We're not talking about the apostles or the pastors. Every person in the community fasted 2 full days a week. They're not eating until sunset those days. And I wonder if that's what's missing today. We read in the book of Acts, and we read that God was adding to their number daily those who were being saved. Miracles, signs, and wonders, they were commonplace. Their lives of the believers were marked by the power of the Holy Spirit. The believers were filled with boldness. They're preaching the gospel wherever they go. And then the scripture says that no one had need in the whole community. There were no needs. They were sharing possessions with one another as the Holy Spirit was moving upon their hearts. I wonder how much more we would be positioned to experience those things if we were fasting like the early church. I've been studying fasting in the Bible recently, and it's amazing all that fasting is connected to. I'm just going to read a quick list and then I'm done. Fasting positions us to get clarity on God's purposes for our lives. It will position you to be thrust into new levels of partnership with God. Fasting positions us to receive courage and boldness from God to obey Him. How many of you would like to have more courage and boldness in witnessing to others? Fasting positions us to overcome temptation, to resist Satan's attacks. Fasting leads us into new seasons of ministry marked by the power of the Holy Spirit. I love that. We're going to be looking at some of these things more in the coming weeks together, but I want you to see that fasting positions us to experience refreshing and the breakthroughs in God that we're longing for, that we're desperate for. What is it that you are longing to see God do in your life? What do you want to see God do in our community, in your family? 2 Corinthians 9:6. It says, remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, but whoever sows generously will also reap generously. How much are you going to reap? It depends on what you're willing to sow. What are you going to plant here at the beginning of 2026? I just want to encourage you as Katie comes now. She's going to share some details about the fast with us. That to the degree that you're willing to fast and to press in and go after God is the degree that you're going to experience Him. And so let's go hard after Him together. Amen?
How many of you guys got one of these when you came in? Yes, amen. You should have gotten one of these when you came in. If you did not, would you raise your hand now so our ushers can pass one out to you? You're going to need it for this next part. This is our prayer and fasting manual. And one of the things that I have learned, that we have learned over the years, is if we don't plan, we're actually planning to fail. Not because we don't love God, not because our hearts aren't in the right place, but because our lives are full. And nobody drifts towards spiritual disciplines, right? Usually we are drifting away from spiritual disciplines. And so that's why we don't want to just step into these 28 days with good intentions. We're going to make a plan so that we can stick to it. A plan that's realistic, a plan that's prayerful, a plan that's sustainable for each one of us. And we put together this manual to help you. It's not meant to be overwhelming or rigid, but it's meant to serve you. If you want to open it up, you will see in the beginning there is some encouragement from Pastor Levi. And there is also a little during the 28 days portion that I want to highlight on that second page there. During the month of January, we are going to be having a worship night every Wednesday at 6:30, and we are also having prayer every morning at 6:30 a.m. And so note that, come here, get around people, be encouraged. But the next page is know your why. That's all what Levi talked about this morning, right? Is choosing to fast because of the end destination, because of where you want to be, because of where you want to end up. And that is ultimately our why. Maybe you have some specific things in your life that you really want to see breakthrough in, that you want to see God move in, some people that you really want to encounter the Lord. And that could be part of your why. But when we are doing something hard, we have to keep our why in front of us. Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no prophetic vision, the people cast off restraint. When we don't have that vision in front of us of why we're doing this, when our stomach starts grumbling and we feel weak and tired, that's when it's easy to give in to the temptation, right? When we're home and we're bored and we would normally flip on the TV, it's easy to give into that temptation if we don't have our why right in front of us. So this morning, in a few minutes, we're going to write down our why. We're going to write down, why are we doing this? So that we can have something to hold on to and remember when things get hard. If you go to the next page, it says plan your fast. There are several different ways that you can fast. Several different biblical ways. One of them is the complete fast that Levi talked about, where you are just only having liquids. You're not having any kind of food. Sometimes that could be for 1 to 3 days. That can be for a longer period of time, but that is one of the options. Another type of fast is a partial fast. Maybe you feel the Lord calling you to give up one or more meals throughout your day, or maybe a specific day of the week. Maybe you work a very physically demanding job, so maybe on your day off is a day that you're going to fast. Or maybe it's not realistic for you to fast full throughout the day because of your job or because of medications or whatever you have going on, but maybe for you, you could commit to fasting dinner or fasting lunch. Another type of fast is a time-based fast, like Levi talked about the people in the early church did, where maybe from sunrise to sunset, you are going to fast. And then another type of fast is a media or distraction fast, right? Where we are removing things that consume our attention. How many of y'all in here would be embarrassed to show me right now how much your screen time activity on your phone from this last week? Oh, maybe part of your fast is including social media, video games, streaming service, watching the news, and in addition to fasting food. Now, fasting from those distractions, that doesn't replace necessarily a food fast, but it's an amazing place to start, and it's a powerful addition to our 28 days of prayer and fasting. Listen, I want to just remind you, though, that we're not fasting, like Levi said, as a diet. We're not fasting so we can sit around and twiddle our thumbs and be bored because now we're not watching TV and listening to secular music. We are doing something else instead of that. So in the time that you would normally spend eating, the time that you would normally spend preparing the food and washing the dishes, it's going to be time for you to spend with the Lord, reading your Bible, praying, worshiping, listening to a sermon. The time that you would normally be scrolling, right? That's space for you to listen and to get into God's presence. Whatever you remove, you are replacing with spending time with God. And in your manual here, if you keep going in the back, there are tips for how you can spend time with God. There are tips, different prayer ways that you can pray, different helps for praying. Maybe you've never spent more than a few minutes with the Lord. This manual has full of some really great ideas to help kick off your time with God. And I just want to say, if you have medical needs, if you have a history with disordered eating, if you're pregnant or nursing, use wisdom here. God honors obedience, okay? Not extremes. And for the next 28 days at church, we're not aiming for perfection. We're aiming for pursuit. And however God leads you to fast, this is your opportunity to draw closer to Him. As I was praying for our time together and for these 28 days, I just want to encourage you. I felt that some of you this morning, you're feeling that tug on your heart, but you're kind of wavering. Should I do this? Can I challenge you? Be the person that says yes to God when He calls. Be the person that God can trust, that when He taps on your shoulder and says, hey, you're up, He knows that you're going to say, yes, I'm in. Yes, coach, put me in. Yes, I'll take this challenge. I'm willing to go. I don't know about you, but I want to be the kind of person that God can trust when He asks me to do something. That He can trust me that I'm going to say yes. And so if you're feeling that tug this morning to try fasting, maybe you've never tried it before, or maybe you have fasted a lot and you feel like God is asking you to step it up, say yes this morning. Say yes. And so in your manual, we have an opportunity for you to make a plan by week. Sometimes people like to ease into it. Maybe this first week, you're just going to fast social media and your streaming services and your video games. And then maybe the second week, you're going to add to that and you're going to fast lunch on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And maybe the third week, you're going to do social media and you're going to fast not only on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you're also going to fast on Saturday. And then the last week, you're going to do all of that. And then maybe you're going to do the full fast for the last 3 days. It's up to you. This is a time between you and the Lord. We're not going to be all fasting the same thing, but we are all seeking the same God. And the goal here is not comparison, right? It's not perfection. It's the pursuit of Jesus. It's drawing closer to God. And so we're going to take a minute here. And right now, if you need a pen, our ushers have pens for you available. You are going to write out your why. And then you're going to write out your plan for your fast. I also just want to encourage you, if you are not a part of a small group, to join one. Many small groups are launching this week, and your small group is an incredible way to receive encouragement and accountability over these next 28 days. All right, so Jesus, we just thank you for this opportunity to seek you, to pursue you, to lay some things down, to get a little bit uncomfortable so that we can seek you, so that we can draw closer to you, so that we can reap the benefits of connecting with you in a different way. God, I pray that you will speak to each person in this room on how they should fast, on why they should fast. And God, I pray that we will be people that say yes to you. In Jesus' name, amen.